Charles for HumbleMechanic.com, and today we're talking recalls. So a bunch of you guys have asked me, Charles, what's the deal with this recall on the Jetta and the Beetle axles? Well, if you have a 2011 to 2013 Jetta sedan or a 2012 to 2013 Beetle, you might have a recall on your car. Now, before we go any further, don't panic. It's not a big deal. Your car's not going to explode. This is not a design flaw. It's not a manufacturer defect. It is only in the case of having an accident and actually a body shop not diagnosing your car's damage properly. In fact, I'm going to read exactly what it says in the recall, which is why I have my laptop on old wobbles here, so that you know exactly what this recall is for. If an affected vehicle has sustained damage to the rear axle component from rear or side rear impact crash, or after striking a high road obstacle while driving in reverse at higher speed, please don't drive at higher speeds in reverse. And, here's the key, and a repair facility did not correctly diagnose / repair rear axle trailing arm damage, the durability of the trailing arm could be reduced. So, it's only in the event of an impact. So this piece has actually helped to prevent misdiagnosis or misrepair of the rear axle trailing arm. It actually sits in the axle and the trailing arm and bolts in 3 spots, as well as has a little hole right here for the rivet to go through. So the part kit consists of 2 brackets for the trailing arms, a bag of bushings, as well as a bag of bolts that I have somewhere around here, and brackets for the parking brake cables. Now, if you are a Volkswagen technician and you are doing this repair, don't effing cut the bracket. Don't be a hack. Don't be a slacker. Take the time, do the recall right. Remember, this is a safety recall. You can explain to me a million different ways of how cutting the bracket or making this hole a little bit bigger is no big deal. I don't care. Don't effing cut it. Don't be a hack. Sorry guys for the rant there, but cutting things and manipulating things like this on safety recalls is a hot button issue with me, and I get kind of pissed about it. So to my fellow technicians again, don't frickin' cut the bracket. Do it the right way. So here's a picture of the trailing arm without the bracket installed. This is how it's gonna look before we start the repair. And basically what we're doing is we're taking this piece and installing it right over the trailing arm on the inside of the axle. These bushings go through not only the trailing arm, but the bracket as well. It bolts in 3 spots with 3 different size bushings and bolts. Fun fact, the back 2 bolts are torqued to 50 Newton meters plus 90 degrees. The front one is just 50 Newton meters. In order to properly install the parking brake cable bracket that I just had a minor meltdown about, technician is going to need to get in your center console, so help them out and take the stuff out of your center console if you can. On the drum brakes, it's a little more tricky to get the parking brake cable off the brake assembly, but it's not terrible. The disc is a little bit easier. All in all, it'll take the tech about 35 to 45 to 60 minutes. It really all depends, it's just how jobs are. Sometimes they go really easy and sometimes they're a little bit more tricky. I know the first one I did on like Wednesday of last week, I fumbled with the bracket, I fumbled with the parking brake cables, I cut the tip of my finger, and it was all in all a bad time. It took me a little over an hour, and then some of the other ones I can do a bit faster. But I would like to leave at least an hour to an hour and a half, just in case anything goes wrong. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of the show that you don't need to panic. Your car is not gonna blow up or explode or catch on fire. The back axle's not gonna fall out, and all the other crazy things that you might think could happen because your vehicle has a recall. This isn't a big deal, but I also wouldn't recommend waiting to get this repair done. Go ahead, get it done, get it over with, and don't worry about it. If you're not sure whether your vehicle has this recall or not, the best thing to do is call your local dealership, give them your VIN, and have them check it. They'll pull it up in our system and it'll tell us whether or not your vehicle does have the recall or doesn't, and they can get you scheduled in to take care of that. Again, leave about an hour and a half. Now, we are not just installing these brackets on every single one. There is actually a straightness check that we're gonna do, and what we'll do is we'll put a straight edge basically along this edge here on the trailing arm and make sure it's nice and straight. Then we'll install these brackets, then we'll run the parking brake cables or whatever order the technician wants to do them in, and go from there, and you'll be on your way. We also had a vehicle with a modified suspension come in last week. For most practical purposes, modified suspensions do not impact this recall at all, at least from the ones that I've seen. Now, if you have your axle beam cut and all kinds of crazy stuff going on, that might, I don't know, I can't, know all of the modifications that you guys have done on your cars, but for the most part, these things won't affect any kind of modification to a suspension. So, again, this is not a big deal. It's meant to make it easier to properly diagnose or repair rear suspension damage in the event of a collision. Not something you need to rush out tomorrow or have a panic attack about, but please don't wait till the last minute in order to get this done. Just get it knocked out and out of the way. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up there. If you have any questions or comments about this recall, which is called the 42G8 recall, post that in the comments section below. Hey, if you liked the video, throw it a thumbs up on YouTube. You can also subscribe on YouTube or on the blog at humblemechanic.com. You can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the blog, humblemechanic.com, and obviously on YouTube. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Not sure if you can hear the screw.